Welcome back to the channel. Now, there's a lot of videos about the Model Y versus the Model 3, and don't worry, this is not another one of those. What we're looking at doing today is looking at a normal midsize SUV, non-Tesla SUV, going to the Model Y. Can you do it? What are you losing? And is this even a functional option? As you guys know, I drive the Model 3, but my wife drives an Acura MDX. It's been a great car, no complaints with it, but having driven my Model 3 so many times, she'd like to know, can we transition from the MDX to the Model Y for her? We're not looking to replace my Model 3 or step up from the 3 to the Y. We're looking to know, can we come from a midsize SUV like our MDX to the Model Y? So Amber and I have been talking a lot about what our concerns are with actually making the transition. So babe, what exactly are your concerns with the Model Y?
Yeah, I do have a lot of concerns, and probably one of the biggest concerns is just the overall size. When you look at the Model Y compared to the MDX, the Model Y just looks a lot smaller. So I really want to know how the size compares. And when I'm talking about size, I'm talking about the mid-row seating, how much space does that mid-row have? I'm talking about cargo area, how much cargo and things can you actually hold in the Y as compared to what I'm currently used to with the MDX. So my other concern is range. Range is always going to be a question when you're moving from a gas-powered car, which you're comfortable with, to moving to something different like electric. So I'm concerned about distance. Probably lastly, I'm a little concerned about the technology and the fact that I'm probably a little bit technologically challenged, and so I'm concerned about what happens when I'm out. Anyway, so what happens when I'm out and about and something malfunctions with the software and I just don't know how to fix it?
So these are definitely questions a lot of people have. So let's go take a look at it and we'll really get into the actual challenges that we're looking at.
See, look how big this is. I mean, I can't even see the top of the car. Okay, so let's look at the mid-row. So this is my mid-row seating, and even in this mid-size SUV, as you can see, it's still tight. I mean, there's not a lot of extra space. You all have seen our Model 3 videos, so you know it is possible to fit 3 car seats in the Model 3. But really what my concern is that they're not all going to be this size forever. So what happens when, you see the height difference between my husband and I. What happens when our kids are all 6'1" like Cody? Where are their legs going to go? How are they going to grow with the car? In this MDX, it seems like they'll have a lot of room. And this mid-row can adjust to give more or less room depending on the passengers in the back seat. So that's one of my big concerns with the Model Y. Will our kids actually be able to grow up in that car? So let's talk about the cargo area. Now, I want to be clear. I have seen the amount of storage space in the Model 3, and it's a lot. I can fit a lot of stuff in our Tesla Model 3. However, it just doesn't compare to the overall amount of space I have in the back of this MDX. We have 3 growing kids, and my husband eats a ton. So I'm at Costco every week, and I need room to put all that Costco stuff, let alone going on our road trips and even camping. Can the Model Y really hold all of the stuff that we need it to? I mean, look at this. There is so much space in here. Another thing I really want to mention that doesn't really pertain to us anymore because our kids are a little bit older, but what might be a concern to some moms out there is fitting the stroller in the back. Now, we have a double bob, and the double bob fits in here, and it was kind of tight, but it fit okay. Would that double bob fit in the Model Y? And we'll measure it out for you.
So just for those of you guys who are going to be using one of these and hoping to put it inside your Model Y, let's just check the dimensions really quick to see if it fits. Worst full job ever. So the length of this is about 34 inches is what you're going to need. You could do maybe 33 and a half if you really pinched it tight. And the depth of this is going to be right at about 44 inches, 45 inches to be really safe. And just in case you're wondering about the height, it is about 22 inches. So we'll see if that actually fits in the dimensions.
Let me show you how a woman does this. Ah, that is one thing I love. Does the Model Y have an automatic close button?
Now my thinking is that since the Acura MDX is one of the most owned midsize SUVs in America, a lot of people are going to have this question. Now let's first take a look and see what exactly are the dimensions on my 2014 Acura MDX versus the dimensions on the new 2020 Model Y. The MDX is 77 inches wide, 194 inches long, and 68 inches tall. Whereas with the Model Y, it is 63.9 inches tall, 187 inches long, and 77.9 inches wide. Now, it's no surprise that the MDX is bigger, but I was a little bit shocked just at how much. The MDX didn't win in every category though. The Model Y was 0.9 inches wider, although if you got the newer 2019 or newer MDX, it's about the exact same. The MDX came in at 7 inches longer and 4.1 inches taller, which is pretty significant. Now let's talk about the trunk dimensions. Now we've heard a lot when it comes to the Model Y because, well, that's all they gave us, about the 66 cubic feet that the Model Y was with the seats folded down. That doesn't mean a thing to a guy like me. My seats will never be folded down. My Acura is full of car seats, so is going to be my Model Y, so is my Model 3. So what I really want to know is how much storage do I have behind the seats? Because when I go on trips or pretty much do anything, that's all I have to work with. And my concern is that I'm going to be giving up a lot of room when I go to the Model Y. But let's take a closer look. First, let's take a look at the depth of the MDX trunk, and that is 47 inches deep or long. Right behind that rear seat at the bottom is 45 inches wide, and just above it, above the cup holders, is 55 inches wide, and that extra 10 inches really makes a big difference. So now in terms of height, it is 28.5 inches in the middle and 25 inches on the sides. Now let's take a look at the Model Y's dimensions. It is 43 inches deep by 37 inches wide. It is 27 inches tall in the center and 20 inches wide on the sides. Now in the trunk, there are two other little secret compartments as they're being called. There's the one in the rear, which is a bigger one. You can put a small suitcase in, I'm being told. And then there's one in front of it that's a little bit smaller. You can fit a little bit less in, which is great. I mean, anywhere that you can put more stuff is good. You also have the frunk, which is nice. You can fit a few more things in there. I love how Tesla was trying to maximize the space in the car everywhere they could without necessarily making the car that much bigger. But the real question is it all together, all the little places added up, the frunk, the secret compartments in the back, the actual trunk, does that all add up to being enough to replace the trunk space of the MDX? I mean, here's the deal. Even with the MDX, on our long 2-week trips we used to do, we had to still put a roof rack on top of the MDX anyway. So one of the things we would have to do if we bought the Model Y is we would have to put some kind of a hitch package on it to where we can go and put the storage unit on the back of the car. Because even in the MDX, it wasn't enough space. We know that there always are going to be situations where that car isn't big enough, but that's really not a fair judgment on the Model Y because it's, too small for the MDX too. We had to buy extra storage. It's too small for the Model Y. You buy extra storage and you kind of just make it work. My conclusion when looking at all this and my feeling is that the Model Y will be big enough for our day-to-day operations for sure. Running around to small trips down to the ocean, things like that, I think you're going to be able to have enough space amongst all the different compartments. And when you think about the trade-off of not having to pay for gas and having autopilot taking you down those trips, you start to really say, well, you know what, maybe I don't need all those things. Would I trade those to have the convenience of having the electric car, that smooth, awesome ride? My gut says yes. But my wife also brought up something else. She said, what about the legroom and having the ability to have those kids grow into the Model Y? Acura has 36 inches in the back, which is great. You have no feeling like you're going to run out of headspace. But look at this. This surprised me. The Model Y also has 36 inches, so I guess we don't have to worry about that one. Now, one of the questions I couldn't find answers to was how much legroom you have between where you're sitting and the back of the front passenger seat or the driver's seat. So in the MDX, you got about 9 inches of legroom between where you're sitting and the seat in front of you. But I couldn't find anything specific to what it is in the Model Y. I'm hoping one of you guys will know that answer and comment down below so we can know that. That's a pretty big deal for us. The car is a couple inches wider than the Model 3, so that's kind of nice. I'm not too concerned about that. It's going to be more the legroom side of things. One of Amber's other concerns was range, and she said that was something that a lot of people considered when coming from an ICE vehicle over to an electric vehicle. And we know that the Model Y has about 316 miles of range if you choose a long range model, which is all you can buy currently. And I think the general consensus now that Teslas have been out so long and now that there's so many superchargers that are constantly growing, is that range is really not a concern. The 300 range, anything over 300 range, is more than you're ever going to use in any given day. So the only time Amber would ever deal with something like superchargers is if I'm driving anyway because we're going on a long road trip somewhere. So it's really not a concern. So we don't have to worry about that. We can check that one off the list as well. So now we can't not go back to that question about can you fit a double bob inside the back of an MDX purely by just looking at the dimensions. Well, when you look back at the dimensions, that stroller was 44 inches deep by 34 inches wide. And unfortunately, when we look at the trunk space inside of the Model Y at 43 inches deep, that's 1 inch too small. Now, if you're wondering if you can stand it up instead inside of the trunk, it's only 27 inches tall in the Model Y with the dimensions of 34 inches wide by 44 inches deep. There's really no scenario I can see where you're going to fit that in there. And again, remember, you're only taking the stroller because you have kids, so you can't fold down those seats. So maybe there's some kind of combo scenario where you can wedge it in there, but on paper, it doesn't look like it's going to fit. So for people that have young children that are still in the stroller, just something to be aware of. And her last concern was technology and how do you deal with something like that. Again, these things are very minor because Tesla has all that programmed into the cars. If there is a technical issue, such as your screen not working, and she brought up maybe it was something like backing up, like what if my screen goes black and I can't use my camera? All you gotta do is just press those two buttons on your steering wheel, reset the screen, and usually that fixes most of the problem. If not, then you just simply have to call tech support. In the same way with an SUV like she has now, you would have to call a mechanic or call to someone to get help. I mean, you're not gonna avoid that all across the board. So a lot of these concerns are concerns more with any vehicle than they are with specifically the Model Y or any other Tesla. So as of right now, these have been our concerns, but the more we look into them, the more we start to see that maybe these aren't such a big deal and we could probably make this work. So a little over a week ago, Amber and I made a little skit where we said if this video gets over 2,000 likes, then we'll go and buy the Model Y. It was kind of a silly video that we made together and it only got about 1,500 likes. So I'll make you guys a deal. If we get 500 likes on this video, then we're gonna go for the Y. In fact, if we get it in a couple days, then on my tutorial series that I'm working on right now, and we show you exactly how to go through and order the Model Y and what to be aware of, we'll just go all the way through and buy the Y right there live on video. But we need you guys' help with that. It's been a lot of fun making this video because I learned a lot and I've gained a lot of confidence. And those of you guys who have ordered the Model Y, please comment down below what you're replacing. Are you in my shoes? Are you replacing another midsize SUV? Or are you going from the Model 3 up to the Model Y? In fact, let's put a poll up here to give a little bit of idea on that. But I'd love to hear from you guys. I need your help to know that I'm making the right move. On paper, it seems like it would work, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. That's it for this video, guys. We'll see you on the next one.